Take a breath. What I'm about to share with you is not meant to create panic or urgency. It's simply useful, grounded information, the kind that helps you make thoughtful, confident decisions about your household grocery shopping before everyone else catches on. Here's something worth understanding about how grocery stores actually work. The products that quietly vanish from shelves are almost never the ones making headlines. They're not on any shortage watch list. Nobody tweets about them. They simply disappear one Tuesday morning because a purchasing decision was made in a corporate office months earlier. And by the time most shoppers notice the empty space, something else has already taken that spot. Right now, as of early 2026, a specific group of products is moving through exactly that process. These aren't panic purchases. They're not exotic items. Several cost less than $1, and knowing about them now simply means you can pick them up calmly, without competition, while they're still sitting quietly on shelves waiting to be noticed. Let's walk through them together, gently, without alarm, because knowledge is almost always more useful than urgency. Number 12, evaporated milk, the misunderstood staple that's quietly being replaced. Most people pass this can without a second glance. Some confuse it with sweetened condensed milk and assume they're interchangeable. They are not, and that confusion is actually one of the quiet reasons this product is being phased out. Let's clear up the distinction. Sweetened condensed milk is a dessert ingredient, thick, sugary, used in caramel sauces and baking. Evaporated milk is a completely different product. It's unsweetened dairy with about 60% of its water content removed, giving it a concentrated protein profile and a shelf life that can stretch 2 years or more at room temperature. No refrigeration needed. Two major national grocery chains are significantly reducing their evaporated milk inventory in 2026. The shelf space is being reallocated toward oat milk and almond milk alternatives, which move faster and carry stronger profit margins. That's not a criticism of those products. It's simply how retail shelf space decisions get made. Here's why this matters practically. During any power disruption, even just a storm that keeps you at home for a few days, everything refrigerated becomes unreliable within hours. Evaporated milk sidesteps that problem entirely. Open the can, mix with equal parts water, and you have usable full-fat milk for cooking, coffee, oatmeal, or soups. The protein content per dollar is higher than virtually every shelf-stable carton alternative currently on the market. There's also a professional cooking trick worth knowing. Chill an unopened can in cold water for about 30 minutes. Then open it and whip the contents vigorously. It thickens into a genuine cream substitute with real texture. Most people have never heard of this. A single can is typically under $2. Pick up a few while store brands are still widely available. Number 11, pure canned pumpkin. A year-round nutritional powerhouse going seasonal. The word pumpkin already sounds like October, and that association is precisely why this change is happening so quietly. Several large chains are transitioning pure canned pumpkin from a year-round product to a seasonal one, available reliably only from September through November. The commercial logic is straightforward. Pumpkin sells heavily for 3 months and sits mostly untouched for the other 9. On thin grocery margins, that math doesn't justify permanent shelf real estate. But here's what's being quietly removed from your diet without any announcement. 1 cup of pure canned pumpkin, not pumpkin pie filling, which is a different product with added sugar and spice, contains 245% of the daily recommended value for vitamin A in the form of beta-carotene, one of the most potent dietary antioxidants available in whole food form. More beta-carotene per cup than carrots, more fiber per cup than oatmeal. All of this at approximately 83 calories, making it one of the most nutritionally dense foods available at this price point. What makes it particularly useful in a practical kitchen is its near-neutral flavor. Stirred into chili, it extends the meal without altering the taste. Added to pasta sauce, it contributes body and micronutrient density that no one at the table will detect. A 15-ounce can currently runs about $1.30. Once chains move to seasonal-only stocking, every home baker and meal prepping household will reach for it simultaneously in October. Buying it now means buying it without the crowd. Number 10, canned green chilies. The 89-cent item that does something nothing else does. This one might sound too simple. That's exactly why most people overlook it. 2 large grocery chains are cutting their store brand green chili offerings in 2026, redirecting shelf space toward higher-margin products like salsa and hot sauce. Once store brands are discontinued, name brand alternatives will typically cost 2 to 3 times as much for the same product. But this isn't primarily a budget story, it's a morale story. And morale is something almost no preparedness content takes seriously as a practical resource. Research in military nutrition and disaster psychology consistently finds the same pattern. Physical resources tend to deplete gradually. Morale, however, can collapse quickly. And the leading driver of that collapse isn't danger or discomfort, it's food fatigue. After roughly 2 weeks of monotonous meals, voluntary appetite decreases, decision-making becomes less rational, and anxiety rises even in otherwise healthy individuals. Green chilies address this through a specific biochemical mechanism. Capsaicin, the compound responsible for heat in chili peppers, triggers a documented endorphin response. A small amount of dietary heat produces a measurable improvement in mood through a neurological pathway that functions independently of any psychological expectation. It genuinely changes how your brain responds to eating a meal. A single 4-ounce can provides around 45% of the daily vitamin C requirement and costs under $1. Stir it into scrambled eggs, rice, soups, or beans. 12 cans for under $11 is a morale investment that lasts years. Number 9. Canned chickpeas. The resistant starch protein being quietly consolidated off shelves. The canned bean aisle looks reliably full at most stores, but not all beans receive equal treatment from the buyers managing that space. 3 large chains are consolidating their bean offerings and reducing chickpea inventory as part of broader SKU reductions in 2026. The reasoning is simple: velocity economics. Black beans and kidney beans turn over faster, chickpeas sit longer. In shelf space management, slower movement equals reduced presence, regardless of nutritional value. Here's what most people have never been told about chickpeas specifically. They contain significant quantities of resistant starch, a form of carbohydrate that bypasses digestion in the small intestine and instead feeds beneficial bacteria in the colon. Studies consistently link resistant starch consumption to improved satiety and more stable blood glucose after meals. In any situation where your diet shifts heavily towards shelf-stable foods, that glucose regulation effect becomes practically important. You stay fuller longer, and you avoid the energy crashes that come with heavily processed carbohydrates. No other common canned bean delivers that combination at this price. Drain and rinse a can, toss with olive oil and salt, roast at 400 degrees for 25 minutes, and they become crispy and deeply satisfying. Or blend a drained can with olive oil, garlic, and any available acid. You have hummus for under $1.50, no special equipment required. Current store brand pricing is typically under $1.50 per can. Once consolidation happens, organic alternatives fill the space at $3 to $4. If you're finding this helpful, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment below with which of these products surprised you most, and subscribe if you haven't already. It genuinely helps this kind of content reach more people who can benefit from it. Number 8. Fat-free canned refried beans. The dietary restriction casualty being quietly removed. This one requires an important distinction up front because 2 different products share nearly identical shelf labels. Full-fat refried beans are prepared with lard or vegetable shortening. Rich flavor, high-fat nutritional profile. That's the traditional product, and it sells reliably. Fat-free refried beans are cooked and mashed without added fat, a meaningfully different nutritional profile, and a more neutral flavor base. Same aisle, nearly identical packaging, but not the same food. Fat-free refried bean store brands are being discontinued by several regional chains, particularly in southwestern distribution networks, with reduced ordering continuing through 2026. Full-fat versions outsell fat-free versions. Premium organic lines generate better margins. From a retail buyer's perspective, the decision is simple, but the people it affects most are households managing cardiovascular conditions, elevated cholesterol, or specific medical dietary protocols. In a normal shopping environment, substitutions are everywhere. When your pantry becomes your primary food source for an extended period, the absence of a low-fat staple protein isn't a minor inconvenience. It becomes a genuine dietary constraint with limited workarounds. Beyond that specific population, fat-free refried beans offer something practically useful to everyone. the fastest complete meal preparation that requires zero cooking equipment. Open the can, add a spoonful of canned green chilies, spread on crackers. That's 7 grams of protein and 6 grams of fiber in under 60 seconds at a combined cost of roughly $1.50. Current store brand pricing is around $1.90 per can. When those brands disappear, premium alternatives run $2.50 to $3.50. Number 7. 6-ounce canned tomato paste. The format change most people won't notice until it's too late. This one is subtle, and the subtlety is exactly why it belongs on this list. The small, cylindrical 6-ounce can of tomato paste, typically priced around 79 cents, is being phased out by several national chains in favor of larger 12 and 28-ounce formats. The packaging economics favor the larger can. It costs nearly the same to produce, generates more revenue per unit, and takes up an identical shelf footprint. From a margin standpoint, it's an easy switch. The practical reality, though, is different. Once opened, a 28-ounce can of tomato paste can't realistically be used before it deteriorates in most single-person or small-family households. The 6-ounce format existed because it matched actual household use. There's also a nutritional dimension that most people have never encountered. The heat processing used to produce tomato paste increases the bioavailability of lycopene, the primary antioxidant in tomatoes, by 2 to 4 times compared to fresh tomatoes. Research through Harvard nutritional studies has found that a single tablespoon of tomato paste delivers more bioavailable lycopene than an entire raw tomato. It transforms a pot of plain rice into a seasoned, nutritionally meaningful meal. It adds depth to white beans and body to any soup in a way that nothing else at this price replicates. The practical solution to the waste problem. When you open a 6-ounce can and use part of it, portion the remaining paste into an ice cube tray. Each cube is approximately 1 tablespoon. Cover and freeze. They keep for 6 months and pull out individually as needed. Zero waste, maximum flexibility. Stock several dozen of the small cans while this format still exists. Number 6. Full-fat Thai and Vietnamese coconut milk. The import contract casualty. This is closely related to the next item on our list, but the reason it's being cut is distinct, and that distinction matters. Full-fat coconut milk from Southeast Asian producers, the kind typically found in international or ethnic food aisles, is a categorically different product from the domestic alternatives moving into that shelf space. Authentic Thai and Vietnamese coconut milk carries between 14 and 17 grams of fat per serving. Many domestic brands filling the same position carry roughly half that amount. The labels look similar, the cans sit in the same spot, the contents are not the same product. The reason for the change is import economics. Tariff adjustments and increasingly thin supplier margins have made it commercially difficult for several large chains to maintain contracts with international coconut milk producers. That's not a conspiracy, it's simple global supply chain math. Why does the fat content difference matter practically? Full-fat coconut milk is one of the most concentrated dietary sources of medium-chain triglycerides readily available in a standard grocery store. Unlike most dietary fats, MCTs are metabolized directly by the liver and converted into energy rather than being stored. Published nutrition research has associated MCT consumption with improved cognitive performance during periods of caloric stress. Your brain functions better on quality fat, and that's not a lifestyle marketing claim, it's documented biochemistry. How do you identify the real product while it's still available? Check the fat grams per serving on the label. Anything below 12 grams indicates a diluted product. 14 to 17 grams means you have the authentic version. That check takes 3 seconds. At Asian grocery stores, these cans typically run under $2. Number 5. Canned coconut cream. The shelf-stable fat reserve almost nobody thinks about. Before going further, one distinction, because these two products are consistently confused. Canned coconut cream is not coconut milk. Coconut cream is thick, dense, and high fat. Coconut milk is diluted. The cartons sold in refrigerated sections are something else entirely, filled with stabilizers and carrying a fraction of the fat content you find in a quality can. Distribution contacts have indicated that several major chains are significantly reducing coconut cream SKU counts in 2026. It ships at a higher cost per unit, turns over more slowly, and occupies space that buyers have already earmarked for faster-moving products. Here's why this removal matters in a way most people haven't thought through. Fat is not optional in the human diet. It's how the brain functions under stress and how cells carry out repair. In any situation where regular grocery access is disrupted, the fat category disappears first. Butter goes quickly, dairy follows, oils move with them. Coconut cream provides a dense, shelf-stable fat source with a multi-year shelf life at room temperature. One can contains roughly 445 calories of predominantly fat. The lauric acid content represents one of the most bioavailable forms of dietary fat available in a standard grocery store. That nutritional profile has no real equivalent at this price and shelf life combination. A can currently costs around $2.79. Once these SKUs are cut, diluted domestic alternatives fill the space at a higher price. Number 4. Canned mackerel, the most nutritionally efficient forgotten tin in any grocery store. Walk into any major grocery store right now and find the canned fish aisle. You'll see tuna shelves with visible gaps from regular traffic. Just below them, mackerel sits completely undisturbed, fully stocked, gathering no attention. That gap is not a quality gap, it's a familiarity gap, and it's about to close, though not in the direction you'd hope. Several large chains have communicated to seafood suppliers that they're reducing mackerel orders significantly in 2026. It moves more slowly than tuna. In shelf space economics, that's sufficient justification to reduce its footprint. Here's a side-by-side comparison that almost nobody sees laid out clearly. Canned mackerel contains more omega-3 fatty acids per serving than canned salmon. It has more protein per ounce than tuna, and it costs approximately $1.50 per can, compared to $5 for canned salmon and $2.50 for name-brand tuna. This is a substantially superior nutritional product at a fraction of the cost, being reduced for a single reason: it isn't popular yet. Popularity and nutritional quality are not the same thing. They never have been. One practical note that changes the entire experience: buy mackerel packed in olive oil, not brine and not water. The olive oil pack preserves flavor over time, adds caloric density, and eliminates the metallic quality that puts most people off canned fish permanently. If this video is giving you useful, calm information you haven't seen elsewhere, please hit the like button right now. Subscribe if you're not already, and drop a comment below. Your engagement genuinely helps this reach more people who could use it. Number 3. Shelf-stable aseptic tofu. The complete protein almost nobody puts on a pantry list. Let me acknowledge the reaction many people have when they see tofu on a list like this. The dismissal tends to be immediate. I understand it. But it's costing people something nutritionally specific that nothing else at this price and shelf life combination can replace. Aseptic packaged tofu, sold in small, shelf-stable rectangular cartons under brands like Morinu, uses ultra-high temperature processing inside a sealed multi-layer package to achieve a 12-month-plus shelf life at room temperature. This is not the refrigerated block from the produce section. This is a categorically different product, sitting in the international or health food aisle, unrefrigerated, often overlooked by shoppers who don't know what they're looking at. Here's the specific nutritional gap it fills. Complete proteins, foods containing all 9 essential amino acids in adequate proportions, are rare in shelf-stable form. Most shelf-stable complete proteins are animal products. For households managing vegetarian diets, food allergies, or religious dietary restrictions, aseptic tofu is one of only a handful of shelf-stable complete protein sources that require no refrigeration and no cooking. Mainstream grocery chains have been shifting aseptic tofu towards specialty sections with reduced SKU counts as part of 2026 shelf consolidation. The preparation that surprises most people: blend a carton of the silken variety directly into any canned soup. It becomes completely invisible. The texture disappears. The soup becomes creamy. The protein content doubles. No detectable flavor change. One package at around $1.89 delivers 10 grams of complete protein with 12 months of shelf life. That nutritional equation doesn't exist anywhere else at that price. Number 2. Canned sardines in olive oil. The tin that does everything. I want to gently ask you to set aside any strong reactions for just a moment, because what I'm about to share is genuinely worth hearing. Sardines are one of a very small number of foods that naturally contain vitamin D3, omega-3 fatty acids, and highly bioavailable calcium simultaneously in a single serving. That combination is documented in NIH dietary reference data and USDA food composition analysis. The vitamin D3 found in sardines, which is the D3 form, not the D2 form found in most plant-based supplements, is absorbed more efficiently by the body. The calcium in sardines, whose soft bones are fully incorporated during canning, is absorbed more effectively than the calcium carbonate used in most supplement tablets. And the omega-3 content rivals or exceeds most fish oil capsules at a cost of under $2 per tin. Here's the pairing worth knowing. 2 tins per week, mackerel one day, sardines a few days later. Between those 2 servings, you've covered your complete weekly omega-3 requirement, your daily vitamin D, meaningful calcium intake, and over 44 grams of complete protein. Total cost under $4. That nutritional density does not exist anywhere else in a grocery store at any price point. A combination of import logistics pressures and European supplier contract changes is causing several major chains to significantly reduce sardine orders in 2026. Buy the olive oil-packed versions, not water, not tomato sauce. The olive oil changes the flavor profile entirely. Cleaner, richer, without the metallic undertone that brine-packed sardines can carry. Bonus item, canned artichoke hearts. The overlooked iron and prebiotic source disappearing from standard sections. Before we get to number 1, here's a product that didn't make the original countdown, but deserves a calm mention because it's quietly disappearing from standard grocery sections and moving towards specialty or gourmet aisles where the price point roughly doubles. Canned artichoke hearts, plain packed in water, are one of the more underappreciated sources of dietary fiber and plant-based iron in any grocery store. 1 cup provides around 7 grams of fiber, meaningful iron content, and a genuinely useful prebiotic effect that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. This matters practically because immune function, mood regulation, and cognitive clarity are all partly dependent on micronutrient intake. And artichoke hearts provide several of the nutrients in that category that most shelf-stable pantries quietly lack. They're also culinarily neutral enough to fold into almost anything. Chop them into pasta, add them to any grain-based salad. Mix them into a simple bean dish. They don't take over a meal, they quietly elevate it. A standard can currently runs under $2 at most stores. Stock a few cases before the specialty shelf migration is complete. Bonus item, canned roasted red peppers, the vitamin C and iron absorption tool hiding in the antipasto section. Another product quietly being consolidated into specialty or gourmet sections, canned roasted red peppers. 1 single red pepper contains more than twice the daily recommended intake of vitamin C. The roasted and canned version retains a substantial portion of that value at room temperature with a shelf life of 2 or more years. More importantly, vitamin C consumed alongside plant-based iron sources, beans, lentils, chickpeas, significantly improves how much of that iron your body actually absorbs. The 2 nutrients work together in a way that's not intuitive but is well documented in nutritional literature. Beyond the nutritional role, roasted red peppers do something culinary that very few shelf-stable products can. They add genuine depth, sweetness, and visual appeal to a meal that would otherwise look and taste monotonous. Fold them into scrambled eggs, blend them into any grain dish, or simply add them to a bowl of beans and rice. A jar currently runs around $2.50. As these products migrate to specialty sections, the price often doubles. Number 1. Canned jackfruit in brine, the import casualty almost nobody is watching. Before explaining this product, one critical distinction. There are 2 versions of canned jackfruit, and they are nothing alike. Jackfruit in syrup is a dessert product, sweet, high in sugar, not relevant to this conversation. Do not buy that. Jackfruit in brine is unripe jackfruit packed in salted water. No added sugar, minimal calories, and a dense, fibrous texture that when pulled apart with a fork is physically indistinguishable from shredded meat in most cooking applications. Take a moment with that. It is the only fruit in a standard grocery store that behaves like a shredded protein food. No processing beyond what canning provides, no additives, no refrigeration required, with a shelf life of 12 to 18 months. For households managing food budgets, vegetarian diets, or anyone trying to extend protein-centered meals in a way that doesn't feel like compromise, this product has no direct equivalent anywhere else on these shelves. Southeast Asian import disruptions and logistics cost increases have led several mainstream chains to reduce canned jackfruit inventory significantly. Some chains moved it to clearance sections as early as late 2024. Others have been reducing SKU counts through early 2026. It sits at the intersection of import cost pressure and mainstream unfamiliarity, moving slowly because most shoppers haven't cooked with it and most content hasn't explained it. That's the window, and it's open right now. Here's the preparation that makes this immediately accessible with no prior experience and no special equipment. Drain and rinse the can. Pull the jackfruit apart with a fork. It shreds in about 30 seconds into something that closely resembles pulled chicken or pulled pork. Add a tablespoon of tomato paste from item 7 on this list. Add a spoonful of green chilies from item 10. Mix. No cooking required. Under 3 minutes total. That combination costs approximately $4 across all 3 cans and produces a filling, texturally satisfying meal that genuinely doesn't eat like standard shelf-stable food. Current price at most mainstream stores is under $3 per can. Availability is already declining. Putting it all together, 3 categories, 1 clear picture. Let's step back and look at this calmly, because the full picture is more reassuring than it might initially seem. Every product on this list falls into one of 3 functional categories. Understanding those categories is what transforms this from a random shopping list into a logical, practical pantry strategy. The fat category, coconut cream, full-fat Thai coconut milk, and sardines packed in olive oil, covers the macronutrient that disappears first during any supply disruption because fat is almost entirely dependent on perishable products. These 3 items provide dense, shelf-stable fat sources with multi-year shelf lives and no refrigeration requirement. Together, they cover your brain's primary fuel source under stress. The protein category, canned mackerel, chickpeas, fat-free refried beans, and shelf-stable aseptic tofu, provides complete and near-complete proteins across a range of dietary needs, including options that work for vegetarian households, low-fat dietary requirements, and households managing specific food allergies. This is the nutritional foundation, the micronutrient and flavor category, canned artichoke hearts, roasted red peppers, pumpkin, green chilies, evaporated milk, 6-ounce tomato paste, and jackfruit in brine, is the category most pantry lists skip entirely. And it's the one that determines whether a restricted pantry stays genuinely functional for 2 weeks or 2 months. Vitamin A, vitamin C, iron, prebiotic fiber, morale, and meal variety are not secondary concerns. They're what separates a pantry that sustains you from one that quietly exhausts you. One more thing, spotting at-risk products yourself. Here's something most content covering this topic never mentions, and I think it's worth sharing because it gives you a framework you can use long after this video. Every product on a grocery shelf has a gross margin percentage attached to it. Products generating above 20% gross margin are protected. Products between 12 and 20% are stable but vulnerable to pricing shifts. Products below 12% are actively reviewed every quarter. And products running below 8% are almost always discontinued within 18 months, unless they serve as category anchors, items that make an aisle feel complete even if they don't sell heavily. Every single item on this list sits in that 8 to 12% danger zone. Not because the product is inferior, because something else moves faster and costs the store less to stock. That is the only reason. Once you understand that framework, you can start identifying at-risk products yourself before any list tells you. Look for items on the bottom row. Look for items under generic labels that are never on promotional tags, always fully stocked but never featured. Those are the next candidates for quiet removal. The products nobody's watching tend to be the ones worth watching most. Closing, every item on this list is available at most major grocery chains right now. Some cost under $1. None require special sourcing, unusual preparation skills, or any kitchen equipment beyond a bowl and a fork. And all of them share one characteristic. They are being removed from standard distribution while most shoppers are still debating which brand of black beans to stock. You found out before that happened. Most people won't. That's not a reason for alarm. It's simply a reason to make a calm, unhurried trip to the grocery store. Read a few labels and add a few things to your cart that you might not have noticed before. The goal isn't a bunker full of food. It's a thoughtful, nutrient-complete pantry that quietly supports your household through whatever ordinary disruptions life tends to bring. That's a goal worth working toward, and you have everything you need to do it well.